Destination Marc.
Hey guys, how's it going? Marc still here, and yeah, many things are happening. First off, different background because it's a little later at night, and if I had filmed in my normal way with my light on, you wouldn't be able to see me. Also, I sound a little bit stuffed up. It's allergies. It's that time of the season, and I hate it. So it's a good thing I took some pills before this. Anyway, so yeah, Finding Dory. It's about time. I teased this like in the summer. So here it finally is. My film reviews of Finding Dory, and even after this, you know what's going to come after this film review. Let's get to this film first, though. Let's get started. The most brief synopsis is that Dory leaves to go and find her parents. But the more in-depth plot is that she goes off and she's trapped in this, like, SeaWorld kind of, aquarium-ish kind of a place, and there's where she's trying to find her parents. And then she and Marlin and Nemo get separated many times throughout the movie, but when they go off on their own adventure and she goes off on her own adventure, it gets pretty funny, pretty wacky, new characters, and a few oldish characters. You know, some just for cameos, some have a bit of a more integral-ish kind of role in the plot, but yeah. Honestly, I thought this movie was going to be a rehash originally, and just Dory goes off somewhere, like way far away, and then there goes Marlin and Nemo this time around trying to go and find her. And that does happen in this plot, but I was thinking like, it's Finding Nemo all over again, but with Nemo and Dory's roles switched. And it's not completely like that, because there's times where they do kind of lose sight of each other, and then they come back, and they meet up again, and then they kind of get, divided again, separated again, and then they come back. So there's a lot of that going on, and funny enough, this movie takes place not always, in the water per se, like in the ocean, seeing as they're interacting not so much with people, but just around, our kind of world up on the surface. There's a lot more of that going on in this film, and I always have this thing of like, how do these people not know that this kind of shit's going on? Like when Hank, this new octopus character, is using this stroller, this baby stroller at one point in the film to get around, and he's using his tentacles to kind of just go around, and they're just hightailing it through the park. How does no one see this? It's really fun. He even straight up reveals himself at one point where like, they bump into these two women, they turn around, and he's acting like a baby in the stroller, and they're like, oh, okay, that's a weird-looking baby, don't look at him. It's really funny, but it's like, how do they not know? It's just dumb little cartoon logic. I think it's funny, but it's like, okay. It's not like an issue or anything with the film, I just think it's funny. I have to point it out every time something like this happens. How do these people not notice? It's just really funny. The new characters aren't that bad. I'm talking about right now what I like about the film, and then we'll get off into the things that, not that I hated or anything, but I thought could have been a little bit more downplayed, because they went a little too far off on it. But the new characters were pretty funny. Oh God, what's her? Destiny was pretty funny, and even Bailey was funny. Hank was pretty funny. So we got some new characters going on here, and I'm forgetting their names, but the two. Not otters, what are they? Seals. The seals are really funny with Australian accents. And then I hadn't seen this film. Today, at the time of this recording, was the first time I've seen this film. But I've seen that one derpy otter guy, seal guy, right there. He's a meme. And I'm like, okay, whatever. What's he even from? Like, I was always wondering when I saw him, like, what's he even from? He's from this film. So I'm like, oh, alright. Yes, he's derpy looking, but does that really have to mean that he's now a meme? Because everyone's making fun of him and using him in weird pictures and such. But they were pretty funny. Oh, and then you've got, oh God, what's her name again? I'm forgetting, the bird, right there. I'm forgetting her name. It'll be right here. She was pretty funny for the fact that she was like a regular ass, or not bird, but a duck. And she was just kind of like all like, huh. Oh, what's going on? What's going on? But she has no voice or anything, so she is one of the more realistically portrayed animals in terms of she doesn't talk or anything like that. But even she was pretty funny for just what she was doing and just how derpy she looked as well. So yeah, the new characters were pretty much a plus. I didn't have a problem with really any of them, so yeah. So with this being the fact that Dory's finding her parents, I was wondering what was going to happen when she finally did find her parents. So, in terms of the plot, going back to the plot again, this movie does kind of take a few small twists and turns. the closer Dory gets to actually finding her parents. Like, she finds this, the place where she originally grew up, in this aquarium-ish place, and the open ocean exhibit, as it were, and her parents aren't there, so she's like, oh god, where'd they go? And at first I thought that's where they were going to meet, but I was thinking, like, I was trying to play out certain scenarios, trying to predict where this movie was going to go, like, maybe they forgot about her in a weird way. But I was like, well, from moral-wise, whatever, I don't think that's going to happen. And then I'm like, well, what if... Even Dory herself asks this, like, will they even want me back if I find them, or whatever? And that's kind of where I was trying to toy with that idea in my head of, like, well, what would happen? Of course, though, they could go the full-on, which they do. It's not really so much of spoilers, but they can full-on be like, oh my god, it's you, and then they go and hug, and that's exactly what they did. But I was trying to think of other twists and turns, like maybe they well, it was, again, mainly, you know, what if they forgot about her, and she had to remind them who she was, or like, you know, maybe they died or something, which is actually kind of brought up as part of the plot, but of course that's not the case, so it's like, I was just trying to figure out what was going to happen, and it pretty much played out straightforward. Not initially what I was thinking, like, oh, she's going to find them. Of course it has to happen, it's the point of the film, but I was wondering if they would really throw any twists and turns. They tried to, but when they said she was dead, I was like, well, or when they said that they were dead, I was like, I don't think they're dead. With the fact that, you know, and that was the big part of the film. Every animated film has to have this, where the characters are sulking, where they get, you know, into these scenarios where it's like, all hope is lost. It's pretty much the climax where it's like, oh no, all is lost, all hope is lost, and all that. And this was that moment where supposedly the other fish that are just like Dory told her that her parents didn't make it. Like, they went to go find her, but then somewhere on the way they just ended up dead, or they just didn't, because they didn't come back. So all the other fish thought, oh crap, they died trying to find her. No, not the case. Just gonna say off the bat, it's not really much of a spoiler. Come on, that's the whole point of the film, like I was saying earlier. So it could have been like a weird, if they played it up earlier in the film and then really elongated it, then maybe we could have had something there. But for the most part, it was a really quick scene. Also, speaking of scenes happening really quick, the pacing was pretty fast. Let me just throw that out there too. There's this part, okay, so speaking of twists and turns at the same time, and scenes moving a little too fast, I had thought there's this part where Dory gets swept away with the stingrays at the beginning of the film, so I thought, boom, she was going to get separated and they had to go and find her, but then no, she just kind of got knocked unconscious, and so that was a thing that happened. But with the whole game swept up into the adventure, that's when they were talking about migration and stuff, and going to back to where you belong, back to your home with your family, where she was like, I do have a family, I do remember my parents, but where are they? That's what kicks off the whole adventure. So they just kind of go from there onward. It's not a bad, you know, way to get into the adventure. I don't know, it felt a little too fast. I'm not saying that it was probably way too quickly paced, but in that moment when the adventure actually starts, but I kind of felt like it was initially. Maybe during a second viewing it won't feel as quick to just start the adventure. I don't know, because you have to have your build-up, of course, where you start with a flashback. There are tons of flashbacks to her remembering stuff when she was little. So also, little Dory, so fucking adorable. So there's that, but there's many flashbacks to that, and certain things she said or that she did during those flashbacks, like when she says them in the moment during present time, she'll, you know, activate a memory of saying or doing roughly the same thing when she was a kid. That's what gets her to the open ocean exhibit. So yeah. And honestly, there aren't a whole lot of things that I couldn't say I didn't like things about this film, because the only two things I can think about that, again, could have been a little more downplayed is all of the whale talk. Yes, the whale talking comes back, and seeing as she actually meets up with Destiny, a whale, who's her friend from back in the day, they can speak whale to each other, and it's really funny when they initially meet each other, but that's like one of the main ways they talk to each other. Not all the time, but like there's the part where she's lost in the pipes, and that's like a really kind of I can see how people can kind of get a little uneasy because there's these tight pipes and she's stuck in these pipes, and it can activate this kind of like, you know, claustrophobic kind of a fear for people that have claustrophobia. But point being, it's like a more intense kind of a scene. But when she finally finds her friends again through the echoing of the pipes and such, and her voice can carry out all throughout the pipes, they start trying to talk to each other via this whale speak, and it got a little old, I guess you could say, for, you know, a while there. In this integral moment when they're trying to talk to each other and they're just, go take a left. It was like, okay, you know, in this more kind of serious moment, you don't gotta play up the comedy in that part, because it kind of detracts from it, in my opinion, just a little bit, not a whole lot. I'm not like complaining, but it could have been downplayed a little bit more. A little bit with Bailey's echolocation too, because he has to hit that note, how they go, like, you know, they make their noise. So he's every so often he's like, ooh, ooh, getting it, ooh, they have to go this way. A little over excessive, so you could have downplayed that just a little bit. Because he's making funny noises. It's silly. It's supposed to be funny for the kids, and while that's true, it gets old a little quickly because he does it quite often. Once he reactivates his ability. It's all about reactivating your abilities and your memories and such, this film. So Destiny is like pretty much blind, and she can't see within like a foot of her. And Bailey, when we first get introduced to him, is trying to reactivate his, you know, echolocation abilities. And Dory's trying to remember, you know, all these things about her past. So like that's kind of what the film is about, like, you know, basically follow your instincts and stuff like that. And I don't know, it was pretty cool the way they did it, but again, with those moments it was a little excessive, so could just downplay those parts just a bit. And of course the emotional moments are there when she finally does meet her parents. It is pretty emotional, and even one part, a very tiny part, it was in, I think, a couple of the trailers and not just like one trailer, where, you know, she knows for certain that she has to go out there to find her parents, and she asks Marlon, don't you know that feeling of having to go and find someone you love? And he looks so very Nemo, so that's, you know, a little nod in the first film. He's like, of course I know what that feels like. So that's what kickstarts their journey onward. Yeah, emotional parts, of course, very emotional parts, and there was always that moment. They always get into moments of like, oh crap, how are they going to get out of this predicament? When, you know, they're stuck going to Cleveland and they have to, you know, they're stuck in the truck and all that stuff. There's always these moments of like, there's like that kind of moment. There's, you know, all those times I was saying how Marlon and Nemo and Dory get all separated from each other. It's like, well, that happens like four or so times in this film. So it's like, how are they going to get out of their predicaments and, you know, reunite again? So I wouldn't say it's like repetitive in that sense, because the outcomes and the predicaments are always different. Maybe they could have just done it a little less. Again, kind of excessive in the whole, like, well, I was going to say repeating stuff department of like, well, they go and then they come back. But again, it's not too repetitive, but they could have probably lessened the amount of times they actually did get separated from each other. I don't know. It might have just flowed a bit more in the pacing department if they did that. Also, there's one other part I wanted to mention. The climax is another part that I have a kind of issue with, only because it was ridiculous in a kind of funny way. I mean, again, it showcases once more Dory's, you know, ability of, oh, she's starting to remember things. She can remember things if she really plants little parts together of locations and areas and things she's seen before, things she recognizes. With the whole, when they're on the circular, I'm forgetting the freaking word for it, the turntable, I guess you could say. I'm forgetting the word at the moment. But when she's trying, the roundabout, there we go. When they're trying to reorient themselves to go back the way they came, because they're in that truck that's on its way to Cleveland with all these fish in it. Hank is driving, and there's Dory trying to, you know, coach him in driving. And I don't know, that whole scene, you know, it was weird. I don't know. It didn't really feel like a Finding Nemo or this Finding Dory movie. It was really, it was weird. I don't know. Seeing as, it's weird to describe or even explain, because seeing as like a huge, if not the entirety of Finding Nemo was taking place in the water, and very, very few moments were actually taking place outside of the water, and I guess on land, or just up on the surface in general. We see Nemo go through that in the first film, and he's in that tank with all the other fish, but them actually not being in a tank, not being in the water, those moments were very rare, but those moments came up a lot more in this film. So with them being on land, driving this truck, it felt weird to be watching. I was like, this is, and then it just, poof, it goes off the cliff, off the edge of the road to Louis Armstrong, and I was like, okay, what is happening here? What? So, I don't know. Not that I'm saying we should re-envision a whole other climax for that part, or a whole other, whatever. Like, it's fine, I guess, but it was just very weird, and I guess very new to see, because, again, a whole lot of this film takes place on land or on the surface, and not a whole lot, in the water. Very much like the SpongeBob movie, the second SpongeBob movie, how a lot of the climax, or at least just the climax in general, last third takes place out of the water, and it's just weird to see for a SpongeBob film. It was kind of weird to see in comparison in this film that they're driving a truck trying to navigate. It was weird. I don't know. I'm just voicing my opinion. I'm not saying it's good or bad or whatever. I'm just saying it's weird. So, yeah. But besides that, the film wasn't too bad. I'm surprised that a lot of people wanted a sequel to Finding Nemo. It wasn't one of those films that screamed we're going to have a sequel at some point in the future, at least to me. It's not that it's not like I didn't want one, I guess. I was never opposed to a sequel, but when I first heard this film was coming out, I was like, oh god, why are they making a sequel to this? How are they going to make it good? And what's going to happen? Is there going to be a Cars 2 all over again, where it's just, is it going to be a rehash, or is it going to just be something completely off the wall because it's Dory now, the same way that it was all about Mater and Cars 2, and again, putting them in a weird-ass predicament that just makes no sense, and it's like, why would you do that? And detract from what made the first Cars movie so good. Well, what made the first Finding Nemo so good was that journey, and while there still is a journey in this film, I guess, it takes place in a very central, specific location, just in different parts of that location. I don't know. I just was like, how is this movie going to work? And I kept hearing from, of course, G-Man and from a lot of other people, well, it's a good film, it's a really good film. And I'm like, okay. And I never got to see it in theaters, so this was, like I said, my first time on DVD seeing this film. And it was fine. I liked it. It's not bad. Could have been a little bit better, though, again, with the whole, excessive parts toned down a bit, and I don't know, the climax could have been different with the whole driving part, but again, I'm not really complaining. I'm just saying, like, it was just weird to watch. It felt a little out of place, just in my opinion, so I'm not really sure. But with that being said, yeah, the rating for this is an 8 out of 10. It was pretty good. I'm definitely going to watch it over and over and over again. Yeah, it was a good film. Not much else to say. Not a whole lot of spoilerish things. If you really consider Dory finally reuniting with her parents a spoiler in the film where Dory goes off to find her parents, no, that's not a spoiler. Of course she finds them. I actually do think, okay, here's the thing. I wish they put a little bit more screen time on the parents. And I'm not talking about the flashbacks, because the flashbacks, of course, is them teaching Dory about these kinds of things. Oh, if you ever get lost, you can find your way home by following the shells and stuff like that. That was all cool, and I liked that. It's just that when they actually do when she does find them, and they all go off, and they don't, in the prison time, don't have a whole lot of time to really, be there. Like, they kind of interacted with, Marlin and Nemo a little bit in this one part, as Dory's off trying to stop the truck and, go and take over the truck and drive back over to where they were. There wasn't a whole lot of interaction with the parents and the other characters. It would have been cool to see. Then again, they probably did it that way because there might not have been a whole lot of material to get out of right there. I mean, you could have had Marlin, as he kind of was near the beginning of the film, trying to recount the moments of the last film, of the journey he went on to go find Nemo. You could have, seeing as Dory went on this big journey to go and find her parents, when they met up, he could have told them his journey to go find Nemo, how he met, you know, their daughter. That would have been kind of funny to hear snippets of him as a callback to the beginning of the film where he was doing that. If he does it again here, and then there's Nemo rolling his eyes at all the over-exaggerations he's making, like there were 3 sharks, not 4, and stuff like that. I don't know. I wish there could have been a little bit more of the parents with you know, screen time for them in the present actual time of, you know, the movie happening, not just in the flashbacks. But I don't know. For what we got, it was fine for them, and just for what we got in this film in general, it was fine. There could have been some improvements here and there, as with pretty much every film. But with that being said, it wasn't a bad film. It was really good. So I enjoyed it. 8 out of 10 is my final rating. And yeah. So have you guys seen the movie, and did you like it if you've seen it? If you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend it. It is a really good Pixar film. So go ahead and check it out, and let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of the movie, if you've already seen it. I'm Marcelo. I will see you guys later. Take care. Oh God. Tune in next time. Next film review is this piece of crap.